Good morning, student. I hope you are doing well. Right. So we are in forfeiture and reissue of share. This is the second part of company's account, right? So we are in forfeiture and reissue of shares. Let me remind you, what is the forfeiture entry? Forfeiture entry starts with share capital, no? So what is the entry? Share capital account debit, share capital account debit to unpaid calls account to share forfeiture account, being such and such shares were forfeited. This is the entry, isn't it? Share capital account debit to unpaid calls to share forfeiture. In case of premium, we have to debit premium, otherwise no need to write premium. So once again, what is the entry? Share capital account debit to unpaid calls to forfeiture. Here the forfeiture is the capital profit. Capital profit. Okay. For example, we forfeited 100 shares and we reissue the same 100 shares. So the entry, bank account debit, bank account debit. If we reissue a discount, then we have to debit the forfeiture account. Share forfeiture account debit to share capital. Clear? Here we reissue a discount. So by the way, we got loss, that is capital loss. This is capital profit, that's why we forfeited. We just credit the forfeiture account. Here this is a capital loss, that's why we debit the forfeiture account. Okay. What is the third entry? The third is the last entry in the company account, that is share forfeiture account debit, share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve. What is that? Capital reserve. This is the last entry. So the balance of the net forfeiture amount will be transferred to capital reserve. For example, here say we got 100 rupees capital profit, say 70 rupees capital loss. So the 30 will be transferred to forfeiture account. That is the excess of forfeiture account over the debit forfeiture account. How much we are having credit in the credit balances, that will be deducted with the debit balance of forfeiture account. The balance will be transferred to capital reserve. Got it? So we have three entries. What are they? Share capital account debit to unpaid calls to share forfeiture account. Now after that, the reissue, we have to write bank account debit, share forfeiture account debit to share capital. And last, we have to transfer into the last entry, that is share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve. Right? So this is what we are going to learn from for the next two classes. Right? So in the previous class, I gave an homework. I gave two homeworks. I hope you solved the question. I read the question once again here. Monica was allotted 300 equity shares of rupees 10 each by a company. Failed to pay the final call of rupees 4 each. These shares were forfeited and reissued to Seema at rupees 11 per share. Okay. So student, how many shares were forfeited here? Here 300 shares were forfeited. What is the face value of the share? The face value of the share is 10 each. Okay. Which installment he didn't pay? He didn't pay the final call of rupees 4. And the forfeited shares were reissued by the company for rupees 11. So this is the information given in the questions. Once again, what are the information given? How many shares were forfeited? 300 shares were forfeited. What is the face value? The face value is 10 rupees. How many calls were unpaid? The last final calls were unpaid, 4. That is unpaid calls, right? And the 300 shares were reissued at rupees 11. So this is the key points given in the question. So now we have to pass forfeiture entry, reissue entry and capital reserve entry, right? So let's start. So this is the ledger for journal format, you know, right? Start. So the entry starts with share capital. Share capital account debit, share capital account debit. Whether it has any premium, there is no premium at all, so no need to write premium here. So we have to write here 2 calls in arrear or unpaid calls, yeah, final call. We can write any. If calls in arrear account is not maintained, then we can write directly to final call account. To share forfeiture. To share forfeiture. Being, you have to write, being 300 shares were forfeited for non-payment of final call, right? So amount, how to write amount here? How many shares are forfeited? 300 shares were forfeited. Whether it is fully called up, yeah, we called up to final call, yeah, till final call. So we have to multiply with face value. 3000 is receivable from the shareholder, but the shareholder could not able to pay final call of rupees 4. So 1200 is arrear. So how much we received previously? 300 into 6, 1800. This is capital profit. Okay. How much maximum discount we can give? Maximum to 1800 at the time of reissue. Keep it in mind, right? Now the forfeiture part is over. What is the next part? Forfeiture is over, then reissue. Reissue starts. So the forfeited shares were reissued by the company to some other party at rupees 11. What is the face value of the share? The face value of the share is 10, but we are reissuing at 11. So it means we reissue at premium. We are charging extra 1 rupee from the shareholder, no? So we charge 1 rupee premium. So what is the entry? Bank account debit, bank account debit to share capital, to share capital account, then to securities premium reserve account, right? Now being 300 shares were reissued. 300 shares were reissued at rupees 11 each. It means actual value of the share is 10 rupees, but we are reissuing at 11. It means we are charging more than the face value. It means 1 rupees premium. Why we credit premium? Premium is the income for the business. That's why we credit the premium. So how to write the amount here? Bank 300. How many? What is the price of the share? 11. So 3300. Share capital में face value. You have to write share capital into face value, that is 3000, and premium 300 into 1 only, no? So 300. That's all. So what we get an idea? We get capital profit of rupees 1800 by way of forfeiting the shares of 300. By the way, we reissue the same share, but we didn't get any capital loss. इसमें कोई लॉस हुआ? लॉस नहीं हुआ. प्रीमियम भी बेनिफिट ही है, फॉरफीचर इज द अदर बेनिफिट. सो यहाँ पर कुछ लॉस नहीं हुआ. सो Lastly, we have to transfer share forfeiture account debit to which account we have to transfer? To capital reserve. To capital reserve account. Capital reserve account. How much? The same amount, the whole amount will be transferred to capital reserve. That is 1800. There is no capital loss, so no need to deduct. Being share forfeiture account transferred to capital reserve account. Clear? Once again, repeat the entry. Share capital account debit to unpaid call, that is to final call account, to share forfeiture account. After that, we reissue the shares, bank account debit to share capital account, to securities premium reserve account, and last is the third entry, that is share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve. Right? So this is the 3 entry for forfeiture and reissue. Right? This is what the first question is concerned. Right? So go through the second question. What is given in the second question? I just keep the same amount of forfeited shares and face value and everything. I just change some reissue amount, I think. Just check the question. Yes. Monica was allotted 300 equity shares of rupees 10 each by a company, failed to pay the final call of rupees 4 each. These shares were forfeited and reissued to SEMA at rupees 9 per share, fully paid up. Here, the forfeiture entry will be same because there is no change in the forfeiture entry, right? But there is a slight change in the reissue entry. Okay. I hope you will solve the question very easily because I just solved the forfeiture entry here, right? And I just going to give a hint about reissue, how to pass the reissue entry. Then you can solve at your own, right? Let me explain. What is the forfeiture entry? The same, because the previous problem or the current problem is same. So the entry will be same for both the problem, right? Share capital account debit to share final call to share forfeiture account. In share capital we have to write 300 into 10, that is 3000. To final call mein 300 into 4, 1200, and to share forfeiture mein the balance amount 1800. The reissue entry will be only change here. The reissue entry is bank account debit, bank account debit. Check whether we reissue at premium or discount. Check the question. Here it is given the shares were reissued to SEMA at rupees 9 per share, fully paid up. It means that the face value of the share is 10, but we are issuing at 9. So it means we reissue at discount. So the entry is bank account debit, share forfeiture account debit to share capital, Why I just debit share forfeiture account? Because we got capital loss. So capital loss should be debited here, right? So bank account debit here 300 into 9, 2700. Forfeiture 300 into 1, 300. Share capital 300 into 10, 3000. Previously we got forfeiture account in the previous problem. How much we have capital profit? 1800 was there, no? So now how much we have got capital loss? 300 is the capital loss. This is capital profit and this is capital loss. The third entry is share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve. Capital reserve account. Here we have to write the net balances. How much we have capital profit? 1800. How much we got capital loss? 300. Just deduct it. 1800 minus 300. 1500 will be in the third entry. Right? This is the net benefit for the company. Company got capital profit of rupees 1800. By way of reissuing, they got incurred loss of rupees 300. So we have to deduct 1800 minus 300. The net benefit will be transferred to capital reserve. Right? Good. Let's solve one more problem. Right? I read the question here. Monica, who was allotted 300 equity shares of rupees 10 each by a company, failed to pay the final call of rupees 4 each. These shares were forfeited and reissued at rupees 11 per share. This is also same problem. You have to just prepare forfeiture entry, after that reissue entry, and then third entry. Let's solve the same problem. Here I am going to change the forfeiture amount because 300 is already we solved. So instead of 300, I make the problem as 500, right? So you have to solve with me, right? So here I just slightly change the question. Here instead of taking 300, we take 500 shares to make the changes in the problem, right? So 500 shares were reissued, forfeited, and the face value of the share is 10 each. The final call 4 rupees is unpaid, and the shares were issued to SEMA, reissued to SEMA at rupees 11. So this is the content of the problem. What is the content? How many shares were forfeited? 500 shares were forfeited. What is the face value? The 10. How many calls were not made? Final call was not paid by the shareholder, consists of 4 rupees, and forfeited shares were reissued at rupees 11. So this is the problem. Let's solve the problem. We have to solve the 3 entry. You have to prepare 3 entry. What are the entry? Forfeiture entry you have to prepare, then reissue entry, and then capital reserve entry, right? So start. Share capital account debit. Share capital account debit to final call account to share forfeiture account. Okay, you know, being 500 shares were forfeited for non-payment of final call. Write the amount here, 500 into 10. How much? 5,000. Final call 500 into 4, that is unpaid, 2,000, and the balance 3,000 will be in forfeiture account. So this is capital profit. Got it? Now we reissue the all forfeited shares for rupees 11. What is the face value? 10, but we reissue at 11, right? So bank account debit to share capital account to securities premium reserve account. We already solved this problem in the previous class. So how many shares were reissued? 500 shares were reissued at rupees 11. Okay, what is the face value? 500 into 10 here, and in premium 500 into 1. Write 5,500 here. Write 5,000 in the share capital and 500 in securities premium reserve. Lastly, share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve account. How much capital profit we have? Only 3000. So 3000 will be in the third entry because we doesn't have any capital loss here, right? So this is the third problem, right? Now see the fourth problem. This is somewhat different from the previous problem. Yeah, let's read the question. Monica, who was allotted 300 equity shares of rupees 10 each by a company, failed to pay the final call of rupees 4 each. These shares were forfeited and only 200 forfeited shares were reissued to SEMA at rupees 10 each. What are the items given here? How many shares are forfeited? 300 shares are forfeited. What is the face value? 10. Unpaid call is 4. Unpaid call, and we reissued at rupees 10 par. फेस वैल्यू भी par है और reissue भी par में ही हम reissue कर रहे हैं. और how many shares are reissued? Only 200 shares were reissued. पहले forfeited share is 300, but how many shares are reissued? Reissued is less than the forfeited share. So here the calculation of forfeiture amount is something different from the previous problem. Let's solve. So the same way you would prepare journal entry. Right. Start. Share capital account debit. Share capital account debit to share final call account to share forfeiture account, being 300 shares were forfeited for non-payment of final call. So the amount for share capital, that is 300 into called up amount, that is 3000. In final call, 300 into 4, 1200. The balance amount 1800 is the capital profit. Right. Now here we are reissuing only 200 shares, but we forfeited 300 shares, but we reissue only 200 shares. Now, and we reissue at rupees 10 only, that is means par only. So what is the entry? Bank account debit, bank account debit to share capital, because we reissued at the same amount of issue. So no loss, no benefit. So 200 into, how many shares are reissued? 200 only, no? So 200 into 10, 2000, and here also 2000, being 200 shares were reissued for rupees 10 each. This is what the second entry. Okay. Now the third entry. What is the entry? Share forfeiture account debit to capital reserve account, to capital reserve account. So this is actually we issue for 300 shares, but we reissue only for 200 shares. So how to write the amount here? We can't directly write this amount here because we forfeited 300 shares, but we reissuing only 200 shares. It should be proportionately reduced. So there is a formula for that. That is forfeiture amount divided by forfeiture share into reissue share. This is a formula for conversion of forfeiture amount. What is that? Forfeiture amount divided by forfeiture share into reissue shares. What is the forfeiture amount here? The forfeiture amount is 1800. And what is the forfeiture share? Forfeiture share is 300, right? And the reissue share is 200. So 1200. So we can't write directly 1800 here. So we have to convert the forfeiture amount in the proportionate amount as 1200 as per the reissue. So we have to write 1200, not 1800. In case we reissue a 300 share means we can write directly 1800 here. But we reissue only 200 shares. So we have to convert that forfeiture amount as per the reissue. So we got the amount 1200, right? I hope you understood problem, right? So far what we learned? We learned how to pass forfeiture entry, how to pass reissue entry, and how to pass the capital reserve entry, right? The three important entries are there. So from the next class, I am going to teach the comprehensive problem. What is comprehensive problem? The problem consists of share application till to capital reserve. What is the first entry? I hope you remember. The first entry is bank account debit to share application account. Yes, the first entry is bank account debit to share application account. This is the first entry. I hope you remember, right? What is second entry? Share application account debit to share capital account. This is the second entry. In case of premium, you have to write to securities premium reserve, right? What is the third entry? Share allotment account debit to share capital account. In case of premium, we have to write here securities premium. Okay. Next, what is the fourth entry? The fourth entry is bank account debit to share allotment account. This is the fourth entry, right? When we have to, there is a maintenance of call scenario, then we have to write bank account debit, call scenario account debit to share allotment. When we didn't maintain call scenario, then we can write directly bank account debit to share allotment. What is the fifth entry? Share, in case of only 3 installment, you have to write here share first and final call account debit, first and final call account debit to share capital account. After that, the last entry, bank account debit, bank account debit to share first and final call. After that, forfeiture entry, reissue entry, capital reserve entry, the entry we learned just now. Okay, so let us see in the next class how to solve comprehensive problem. Till then, take care, bye.